Today is Parenting with Heart, Nurturing Healthy Relationships. We're going to work on finding and teaching replacement behaviors that meet your child's needs, teaching coping skills, and teaching your child the best way to learn, or teaching your child in the way they learn best. I'm Chelsea. I'm a behavior specialist and a parent, and I understand that life gets hectic, and I help parents and families find what matters to them and keep that in mind even when life isn't going as planned. I see clients in Manteca at my office, by video call, and in their homes, and I also have a Quirky Kids social club. I'm in network with Blue Shield of California, Magellan, Anthem Blue Cross, United Healthcare, Optum, and Aetna. And I currently have openings in my schedule starting April 2024. We have openings in the Quirky Kids social club right now. Today, our takeaways are going to be replacement behaviors, coping skills, and teaching your child how they learn best. We're going to throw back to session 4 and talk about the why behind what we do, just as a refresher. There's 4 reasons we do what we do. Sensory, too much, so we're avoiding sensory input, or we have too little sensory input and we're seeking sensory. There's escape or avoidance. That could be from an activity, task, person. Attention, any attention. Attention is attention, it's not good or bad. And then access, an item, place, person, or activity. We're going to be talking about unwanted behavior. And what I mean when we're talking about unwanted behavior is a behavior that meets the need. It meets one of those 4 needs, but it's not the best way to get the need met for the individual. It's not the quickest. It doesn't lead to healthy relationships or strengthening friendships, etc. Unwanted behavior may not be misbehaving. It could just be less efficient, take longer, or not be the best choice, but it meets the need in the moment. And that's all that we're going to care about. Is my kid's need being met? And is there a better way to do that? Replacement behavior for this conversation is a different behavior that meets the same need as the original behavior. And we have to teach them. If our kid knew how to do it a better way, they would do it a better way. That's a mindset that's very helpful as a parent to keep in mind. If our kid could, they would. So it just helps as we're going through these examples to keep that behavior detective hat on that we talked about last session and really look at things in an objective manner. It helps us see our kids as less of malicious intent and more of they're just learning, and we have to teach them better ways to do things. So a better behavior is a replacement behavior in this conversation. So teaching better behavior, we have to first know the why, and then we can teach the better behavior. So ultimately, what matters most for the majority of families is for our kids to live happy lives where they get what they need. I'd say all families eventually want or ultimately want that. And a better behavior is one that gets the need met and meets the same why. A better behavior is not more convenient for us as a parent. That's not the only reason to teach a better behavior. And we will talk about how to decide what a better behavior is and how to figure out if it meets our kids' needs or if it's just more convenient for us. So first, we'll talk about the first reason why is escape and avoidance. This example, so this is the before. So this is how things go normally. Parent gives the instruction, clean up your room before you get online. The child's behavior is whining, protesting, halfway clean the room, come ask again, more whining, some bargaining. And the parent's response after the child's behavior is, fine, you did half, just get online, you can do the rest tomorrow. So the child is escaping or avoiding cleaning the second half of the room. And because you let them, they're probably going to do the same thing again. So we know the why is escape or avoidance. And this is an alternative. So parent instruction, clean up your room before you go online. We can teach our child to negotiate, say, can I clean up the half of it today and half of it tomorrow? We're gonna have to teach that better behavior, the negotiation piece, the compromise piece. And then you get to say as parent, yeah, let's agree on what half looks like. So it's very clear. Thank you for letting me know you want to compromise. If whining and protesting and halfway cleaning and coming back and whining and protesting and bargaining is working, they're going to keep doing that. That's what's working. We have to teach them the better behavior that will get them what they want faster, because they'll save a lot of time if they just ask to clean half today and half tomorrow, and then you agree to do it. Saves everybody time and energy. So how to figure out if the better behavior is worth teaching. So think about in the past slide, we're teaching compromise and negotiation. So I go through a checklist. Okay, negotiation and compromise can apply to many areas of life. Sweet. That seems like a valid skill that my kid can take to other settings and use. If you're going to give in anyway, don't even say no in the first place. If you know you historically have just been fine with them cleaning half the room, just teach them to ask. So it's kind of under your control of, yeah, you can clean half the room. Thanks so much. In your head, you're thinking, I'd have given in anyway, no problem. And then it's important to build in changes for your child to tolerate the no by saying, thanks for offering, but not this time. And that builds in some flexibility to have them tolerate, okay, sometimes negotiation works and sometimes negotiation does not work. Comments and questions, again, you can, if you're live, you can put them in the chat, or if you are watching the replay, you can email chelsea@burgosbehavior.com or admin@burgosbehavior.com. So we'll go through an attention example now. So we know that the why is attention. The parent is with a friend in the living room talking, watching a TV show. And then the child's behavior is entering the room and immediately starting talking and interrupting the conversation. And the parent's response is, that's rude, don't interrupt. What do you need? So you're giving that corrective feedback, but they still get to interrupt. And then when we know the why, we can teach a better behavior. So the parent's in the living room talking, watching a TV show. We teach the better behavior of saying excuse, well, in this one, he still interrupts, and then the parent's response is, let's try that again, say excuse me, and then wait for me to respond. So sometimes you can teach in the moment, and then other times you might teach ahead of time, like our escape example with cleaning the room. So we know that getting attention by saying excuse me applies to many social situations at home and school. So that means that teaching that skill isn't just convenient for us. The parents are going to meet the kids' needs anyway, so just teach them to interact with a better behavior just from the start. And then build in some changes for your child to tolerate by saying, oh, please wait, or I can't talk right now, give me a few minutes. Something that I forgot to say in the beginning, these are just one of a million possibilities for each of these functions, these reasons of why someone might behave the way that they do. So this is just a snapshot and some examples. It's not all encompassing. And then access. So access, remember, is trying to get an activity, an item, a person. That's the reason that the person's engaging in the behavior. So we're at the store, the child sees a toy or item that they want and they ask for it, and the parent says, no, you have one already. Then the child's behavior, because they want the toy, the access, is whining, protesting, sitting on the floor, starting the whole you never get me things, statements very loudly. The parent's response initially is trying to ignore. The child keeps going. We start getting a little embarrassed. And then the parent says, fine, you have to clean your room when we get home, though. So a better behavior might be, in this situation, could be waiting, could be earning the toy ahead of time before we go back to get it. There's child-specific reasons that we might pick a better behavior. But the alternate parent response in this example is, okay, let's take a picture of it and put it on our list for next time. And you can earn it by helping me clean your room. So we are making our kid feel like we're not going to forget about it. There's going to be a picture of it. We'll put it on our phone. Mom knows what I want. And that she gave me a clear path to getting it. And then by adding helping me clean your room, it adds a little bit more likelihood that it won't seem as overwhelming. And your kid is most likely going to accept that in the future as you build this habit of earning things before you get stuff at the store. And whining does not get you what you want at the store. So the situation that we just talked about, waiting is a skill that's needed across every area of life, waiting for short periods and longer periods. And the building of tolerance of waiting, delayed gratification, it still lets you get them cool stuff. It still lets you teach them how to earn things. Like these are oftentimes parent priorities that I hear a lot. Like I want them to have cool things, but they can't whine for them. I can't just get them cool things when they're screaming at the store. So this is an example that would address waiting and then earning things and then also varying the time your child has to wait. Sometimes they get access right away and sometimes there's a wait. That builds in that tolerance to the unpredictability of life. Then we've got a sensory seeking example, which sensory seeking means that there's an absence, there's too little sensory input in one of many, many ways. So sensory seeking example, the parent is existing and there's nothing else going on because remember, sensory is not socially mediated. It's something that the person is seeking or trying to avoid. So the child's behavior, you notice your kids jumping on the bed, climbing on the couch, jumping off, crashing into furniture, and smiling. So it looks like that they're not in pain or anything when they are doing these things. They seem like they're content to keep doing these common safety hazards of like climbing on the couch and jumping off. And your response as parent is don't jump on the bed, we don't climb on furniture, you're moving the couch all over the place, please stop. So in this situation, we could kind of guess that the child has too little sensory input because they are getting more by jumping in the bed, climbing on the couch. So the parent's response could be set limits on where to jump. You pick up a kid's trampoline from Facebook Marketplace, you put it in the living room, and you remind your child to use it on regular intervals. This is the exact thing that we did in my house during COVID when everything was shut down and my kid needed to move. So ordered a trampoline. I wasn't doing Facebook Marketplace at the time because we were limiting contact with other people, but I have so many videos set up of this kid just going to town on the trampoline. And it let me not scold as much. It let me not think about it as much because she got used to using her trampoline. And she still has that trampoline and uses it all the time because she can sense. She tells me, "Oh, I feel like I'm sugary," is what she says when she needs to jump. I feel like I'm sugary, and she'll go jump on the trampoline. So it's a skill that we taught our daughter of noticing what our body feels like when we need to move. And then we gave her the opportunity to move in a way that would get her positive feedback rather than instructions to stop jumping on things that are not meant to be jumped on. Noticing your own sensory needs is a skill across any area of life, across your entire lifespan. And then having a regulated body is essential to enjoying life. Sensory is literally life. It's your entire experience within yourself. So you can prompt, remind your child to use better sensory seeking behaviors. And when you're dysregulated, especially if your kid is sensory seeking or sensory avoiding, that means that they're dysregulated. And you don't see all the options when you're dysregulated. Your brain doesn't connect those dots. So you need help to do so, especially as a kid. And then here's a sensory escape example, also from my own life. So we're at the grocery store and the parent's getting groceries and your child's all over the place, trying to crawl under racks. They're squinting a lot. They're not listening, meaning that you'll say something and they either don't respond or do the opposite. Just really all over the place is the term that I would use. And the parent's response is, come on, we just need a few more things. Stop wandering away. We can guess that maybe there's too much input because this is not how your child acts at smaller gatherings or at the store maybe on a Tuesday morning and you're there on a Saturday afternoon. So this trip might not be ideal. Maybe the lights are too bright, there's too much noise. You give your kids your sunglasses and they stop crawling under the clothes racks. So maybe it was too bright and the sunglass and they were seeking shade under the clothing racks. Like it really does take, especially with sensory avoiding behavior, it takes a little bit more detective work and experimenting to see what your kids' need might be, but it's definitely worth it. The payoff is worth it. And back to the sensory piece of if you notice sensory is the motivating factor, meaning it's not stopping when you're giving attention or when you're removing a demand, that means that there's some other driving factor that you don't have control over. You can just teach the skills. That's all, that's the most control you have, is teaching the skills to your child to use to escape when there's too much sensory input going in their little body. All right, this is the most important. Thriving requires sensory regulation. Part of dysregulation is not seeing all the options. Your kid's not going to just remember skills that are not deeply ingrained habits for them. And then, especially when the better behavior is not part of the skill toolbox, it's not going to be available to them at the drop of a hat. So, how do we know if a better behavior is already in our child's skill toolbox? If they're doing the better behavior the majority of the time, that's a safe bet it's in their skill toolbox. And then, how do we know our child needs more tools? Is you're witnessing them come across different situations where the few better behaviors they know are not meeting their needs. There's still unwanted behaviors showing up. So over our lives, we hope that we'll have all the right tools to meet our needs in the moment. And they take practice and direct teaching. Because remember, if your kid could do it in a better way, they would do it in a better way. And the direct teaching requires the habit, the practice to select the tool in the right moment, the right tool in the right moment. So coping skills are tools. Coping skills are not only 5 things you see, 4 things you smell, 3 things you feel, etc. It's not just deep breathing. It's not just take a drink of water. It's not just go to your room and listen to music. Those are very temporary and they probably don't meet any of the immediate needs. Coping skills are the better behaviors. They may include traditional coping skills. If you are experiencing too much sensory, an escape might be going to your room and listening to music, sure. But that's the traditional like list of coping skills that we see for teaching kids. They're not meeting needs in the moment most likely. And that's why your kids are not regularly using them and you're not noticing a change. So, how do we teach our kids in the way that they learn? In order to teach better behaviors, we have to teach in the way they learn. So, I invite you observe your child across their routines. What did they learn the fastest with? And then how did they learn it? So, my daughter is a visual learner. We we avoided showing her how to open the baby gates for as long as we could. But the second a neighbor kid opened her little baby gate, she saw it and she immediately knew how. So that she learned that very fast and she learned it visually and then going and trying it herself. So with the things that your kid learns quickly, usually it's leisure activities. It's like how to make a Minecraft something, or I mean, Minecraft kind of takes over our lives at this point, but there's other examples of like how to um, navigate a rock wall. Do they watch other people? Do they have to try it first? Do they want you to explain it? Just showing them work first. Your answers of the skills that they learn the quickest, how did they learn them? That's how your kid learns best. And that's how you should be teaching the better behavior. And then you can watch their toolbox fill up. I have especially about the um, escape avoidance behavior. I've got a resource on burgosbehavior.com of hitting the snooze button, your kid's hitting your snooze button, and that is a good example of the escape and avoidance function and how to address if your kid's not listening the first time. That came to mind when I was putting this together.